Hello everyone. So today I will talk to you about the history of Exotrail and how we went from an idea to a startup which now has 45 people working in both Massy, next to Paris, and in Toulouse. So Exotrail actually it started as a student project. We were back in 2015. I was in Polytechnique and I had to do a project with several fellow people at Polytechnique there. We had to design a way to measure the thrust of a very small electrical propulsion solution. Well, the project went quite well. However, the solution we came up with was not that brilliant technically. I mean, it was not working very well. But it got me to know what is space and how you can design things for the space industry. Still in 2015, I went to a Space Up conference in Cologne. And there, with another guy, we thought about, well, it was a time of planets, of Spire, so two of the major new space companies at the time that were raising funds, and we say, like, what can we do in this environment? We were interested by startups, we were interested by space, so what can we do? And actually, the propulsion at that time was not possible for small satellites. So we decided, well, we did a project where we had to qualify a thruster, so why not go to the industrial phase of this first thruster and try to sell it? So with research engineer from CNRS, we applied for a grant with a tech transfer office, the SAT Paris-Saclay. And they gave us €500,000 to go from a lab product that was kind of working to an industrial prototype. So something that you can show to customers so that you can sell your product. With this funding in 2 years, we succeeded to have something that was working. And this allowed us to raise funds in mid-2018. At that time, we finished our studies with David, so one of the co-founders of Exotrail. And we were full-time to do this fundraising. And to do that, you have to have three things. You have to have a short-term objective, you have to have medium-term objective, and you have to have a vision. So where you want to go, so that you can create value for your company and for your shareholders. Because in our industry, it is quite hard to self-fund ventures, because developments are very expensive, especially for space products. So we had to have an idea of what can be the value of what we were doing. So we arrived in 2018. We succeeded to raise funds with three funds, one of which is BPI France. So here you can see that there is really like a very strong push from the public sector in France. We were supported by a tech transfer office, which is a public entity. Then we were supported by BPI. And thanks to this funding, we went from 6 people to 18 people in 2 months. So here we learned new things. How you can recruit, how can you create a team that will go from still an idea, so a first prototype, to something that you can sell. From this point, in 1 year, we delivered our first thruster. That was in September 2019. And we had to gain knowledge on a lot of topics. The thruster itself, it is plasma physics. Then we had to gain knowledge about electronics, about fluid management, about mechanical engineering, about thermal engineering. So there was a lot of new fields that, as co-founder of the team, of the company, we had to master. So when we were at that point, we delivered our first product for a demonstration mission. we were not yet at the end of the journey. The goal of the company is to sell products because it's how you get money, and in the end, you create value. So we had to find customers. And it's something also that you have to learn. How can you sell your product to customers? So it is something that we continuously were pursuing, and we succeed to have our first real sale at the end of 2019 for 2 of our products, and I'll come back to that later. From there, it was kind of an exponential growth with more and more technical challenges, because we were transitioning from getting something, let's say, simple in space, so something that works in space, to something which is industrialized. And this is the second part of our adventure. In mid-2020, we raised new funds with the same venture capital as before and with new ones, to go from this phase of I have one product to I can produce 100 of those products per year. It's not at all the same company that you have. So we went from 23% at that time to now 45%, and we really grow the company to be production ready, so that we can deliver quality products to our customers, and this is where we are now. So I will come back to what we are doing now, actually, at Exotrail. So we are really a deep tech company with technical roots. All of the 4 co-founders are engineers, but we went to different directions, let's say. So David, our CEO, is managing customers, is managing the company culture. Jean-Luc, our Chief Technical Officer, is more on how from a product you can produce it, so on the production side, how you organize teams so that you can do this transition. And Nicolas is our Chief Operation Officer and is working on the means of the company. So how you hire people, how you do your salaries, how you pay your people that produce things for you, how you make invoices for your customers. And myself, I am more of the technical guy, so I'm dealing with all the new developments of the company. And we have 3 products at the moment. So Thruster Family, which is our core product, what I described at the beginning. So it is all thrusters for small satellites from 10 kilograms to 200 kilograms. It is a very, very challenging product to make. It involves plasma physics, and plasma physics is a pain. So it's very interesting, but it's very hard to master. Then there is very complex electronics and gas management. So we had to have competency in those 3 major fields, which taken like one apart from the other is already challenging, and when you combine the 3 of them is all the more challenging. Then we have 2 other products which are software. So I didn't talk about that at all from the beginning, but it's really something which is in our DNA at Exotrail, is that we are not only producing hardware and the thruster, we are really producing a solution for our customers. So when someone buys a thruster, they need a mean to use it, and it's what we are doing with our software. So it is a software that can compute maneuvers, how to go from point A to point B, and being efficient at doing that. We have been developing that in Toulouse for 3 years now. And now we are even expanding to the operations side of it. So we developed a lot of different techniques to operate our thruster during our demonstration mission. And now we can control a satellite from talking with it, storing the data it sent to us, managing the maneuvering of this satellite, so that we have a full product for our customers, and they can go from buying the thruster, put it on their satellite, and then use the satellite with our products. And we are also developing new products, which is the long-term vision of Exotrail to become a mobility provider. And we don't want to only sell one hardware product or one software product, but we want to sell a service for our customers and to move their spacecraft with the mean of propulsion, but propulsion which can not only be on their satellite, but a propulsion service that they can buy. And we call it the space van. We, at Exotrail, the history of the company is really from going to, from an idea to something that we can implement. And this is really what is complex in doing a startup. It is quite easy to have ideas. It's quite easy to do prototypes. It is much harder to go to production, to grow your vision, and to know where you can go in a few years. It's really what characterizes us. We have very deep technical roots, but we really see behind, and we know where we want to go, and we really create our team, create our company spirit, so that we can reach those objectives. And no, so this so for you who are interested in the space sector, it's really like something that you have to understand is. Yesterday, there were only big companies that can do things and produce things and sell things in the space sector. Now there is much more ways to be an actor in this sector. Still, it's challenging. Still, you need to be you need to have ambition. You need to know where you want to go. But in the end, everyone can succeed. Everyone can have an impact on the industry, whether it is by doing a startup or working in a lab. And it's really an industry which is developing, and you have 1,000, 1 million opportunities every day to do something in the space industry. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Actually, we have time for question audience and audience interaction. It's your time to grill Paul on your questions.
What was the hardest part for you? Was it the technology, the business, the people, hiring people? Because you grew so fast, maybe, what was the hardest part, basically, of growing Exotrail?
So what I like the most is the technical challenges on my side. However, so when you are a co-founder and when you are working in a startup, you have to have a very broad view of what is happening. So you cannot do technical things without understanding your customers, because in the end, it is them who will buy your product. And also, we are managers, and really like the team and the way the team work in one direction is key. So it's something maybe I didn't talk too much about, but when you are working in a startup environment, you have to learn a lot of things. So, and yesterday I was talking to a former colleague of mine at École Polytechnique, And he told me like, oh, I was for 4 years in Thales and Space. I made a lot of things, like different technical projects. But in the end, what you have done in Exotrail is much more, because being in the position, being in a startup, you have to be director of sales, you have to hire people, you have to manage projects, you have to understand very complex technical things so that your project can move forward.
Question up there. We're coming, we're coming. Sorry, it's important to use the microphone because people that are connected to us during the live stream, they need to hear your question for your answer to make sense, Paul.
Thanks for the presentation. Question about the future. Are you already working on satellite refueling, in the sense of extending the lifetime of your satellites up there, in the sense of enabling them to, let's say, do their orbitation with an additional propellant, etc., etc.?
So we are not directly working toward that. Really, the way we build the company and the way we want to develop it is going step by step. So the first step was the development of our thruster, and the development of our mission analysis software. Then from that, we grow to new services. On the thruster side, it is to expand our production capability, which is a challenge by itself. And on the software side, it's to go from mission analysis to operations, which is also another challenge. Now we have new project, as I said, on selling service to customers, and it is also the next challenge. We are putting our effort into it, and we are really focusing part of our company to that goal. Obviously, we always have a vision which is broader than what we are doing next, and refueling is part of this vision.
Another question? Paul, I've mentioned earlier that there are a few startups that are pitching next door to a jury members. What would you advise somebody, that wants to start on the startup journey now? Are there too many startups? Has the scene become too crowded for startups? And is there a lot of competition for funding now? Are you expecting that there's going to be more mergers and acquisitions in the future?
Yes, so when you are in the field, you can be either in the startup side, so here, or in big companies. I think that still when you are in big companies, you don't see the startups. So I wouldn't say that there are too many startups. You need people which, as I said, are differentiated. So you have to propose something new, and you have to really stick to your vision and have a clear vision. If you have that, I think there is still room for new companies. You see startups which are quite young becoming grown-ups, let's say, every day, even now. So I think it's not too late to start a business, but you really have to have this vision and to know where you want to go.
From the audience? Okay, and then we can let you go, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing the Exotrail story with us. As well, it's really nice to see that it's hard. It's hard work, and you really need determination to start such a project. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you hopefully later in the evening for our concert.
Thanks.